YouTube Live. We should be live. Sal, can you hear me?
You know, with this shirt and hair, I think look like a mean detective or maybe a mean prosecutor.
Yeah, totally. I like it. So I'm assuming you can hear me.
I can hear
Okay. All right. Yeah, you look great. You look great. You look like you just got done with an interview.
you. Thank you.
All right. If you're ready,
I'm ready.
let's do this. Welcome to Just Curious Media. This is That's a Crime. I'm Jason Connell.
And I'm Sal Rodriguez.
All right, Sal, we are back for another crime.
Yeah. And does this qualify as a heist? I know you like heists. Is this a
No,
heist?
it's not a heist.
Okay.
I do like a heist. This is not a heist. But today we are breaking down the true crime story of the World Series of Poker winner steals $25 million in sports gambling scheme in 2022.
Another new one.
Brand new. Every time I try to go back to the archive, Sal, new crimes popping up.
Yeah.
And this one caught my eye because I do know some things about the World Series of Poker. And I thought, whoa, hang on a second. Do I know this winner? But before we get into that, Sal, a word from our sponsor.
Yes.
If you don't mind.
I do not mind at all because I'm a big fan.
Actually.
I'm a big fan of this company.
Yes, as am I. Support for That's a Crime is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming and offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. And with this exclusive offer, you'll get
20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code That's a Crime at manscaped.com.
Perfect. All right. So back to the World Series of Poker, which has an acronym, Sal, which is
a WSOP.
You WSOP, I got to tell you. So
wait, Jason, are you you watch WSOP? You play poker?
Let me clarify here. I say I know about it because back in like early 2000s, I started to see this trend happening on ESPN. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? It was popping up on television. People were watching tournaments. My friends were partaking in lots of Texas Hold'em, which is the game of choice for this. So no, I was like, outside looking in, just like, oh, I see a trend here. I didn't take to it, but I caught myself watching a little bit of it, learning. I played in one little mini tournament with my friends, one ever, Sal.
Yeah.
I happened to win.
Nice.
Yeah, it was one as I'm out. I'll never top this. But this is 20 plus years ago. And so I just saw this thing and I started to see different players here and there because it became characters on ESPN. All of a sudden covering poker was a thing and you wore the shades and then you want to, it's like everybody wanted to outdo each other. Yeah. So therefore it caught my eye a little bit, and I'll get into some pop culture references too, which also put it on my radar. But just to be clear, this is their quote. I'm going to quote what the World Series of Poker likes to call itself, its slogan. It is known as the oldest, largest, most prestigious, and most hyped gaming competition in the world. That's according to the WSOP. That's a pretty listen to me, pretty big endorsement there, Sal, I gotta say.
It is, but I wonder if it's like the UFC, where the UFC is not the only fight promotion in town. They're not the only MMA game in town.
That's true.
But they are the biggest and most widely known.
Right. Yeah. I mean, who else is there? There probably are more, but they got there first, and they had ESPN. I mean, that's some serious coverage.
Well, because what one may argue, why do you have poker on ESPN, which is supposed to be for sports, when really poker was never known as a sport, right?
Yeah, well, now they have darts and they have cornhole and they have all sorts of things. So sports.
Well, cornhole. Well, as a fan of cornhole, I wouldn't call that a sport either. It's like
exactly. It's a hobby. It's a drinking game.
It's a skill.
A tailgating game. It's a skills game. But now, people want to watch it.
Okay. Well, I like it. I like darts. I like cornhole. I like bowling. I like all of it.
So some previous main event champions, I would say, because if you win the World Series of Poker, we're going to get into how this ties to the story and the person, but just giving some backstories on the World Series of Poker. So if you win the whole thing of the year, it's like winning the Super Bowl. You're the main event champ. And I remember like a guy named Chris Moneymaker. Well, I mean, what a great name. He
Sure.
won it. His name was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then there was like a two-time winner, Johnny Chan. He was fantastic as well. He also popped up in the movie Rounders, 1998. Matt Damon, Ed Norton, Martin Landau, John Turturro, John Malkovich. An amazing movie, Gretchen Mol. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's the type of movie, Sal, that you visit again and again and again. It's
What is it?
fantastic.
It's about poker?
It's about poker, but it's more than that. Old friends, one's going down one way in life, the other one's going a better road, but he's got to help his buddy out and risk everything. It is fantastic, I tell you. And Johnny Chan plays himself in this little bit part. And then Lucky You came out in 2007. Eric Bana, Robert Duvall, Drew Barrymore, and he was a Texas Hold'em poker player. Wasn't a good movie, but the director Curtis Hanson did LA Confidential and some other great movies, but it just didn't live up to the hype. But you could see that I was seeing a trend. Like,
Sure.
oh my gosh, you're seeing late 90s. Rounders comes out, kind of, probably also help people get into World Series of Poker. And then Lucky You. And then anyway, the trend was kind of over, but it's still popular. And until 2005, the World Series of Poker was always held at the Binion's Horseshoe in Vegas, which I've been there a few times. Loved Binion's. It was amazing. Sal, they used to have $1 million on display. You could pop in and see the million. Have you seen it?
Yeah. No, well, I know I've been at least by Binion's,
Okay.
but I don't know if I've ever been inside.
Well, they shut down in 2009, unfortunately. And then the whole tournament moved to the Rio All Suite Hotel and Casino. It could still be there as far as I'm concerned, or maybe it's moved on from there. So that was like, I had a little tie to that, thought the history of Binion's was really cool. But now let's get caught up with this crime, right? So that sets the stage. If you're a World Series of Poker winner in some regard, you have some prestige,
Sure.
There's like, you're well known, you have some name, some clout.
Yeah.
And then you get caught up in some sort of gambling scheme, not a heist, heist is like, hey, buddy,
Yeah.
it's like Heat
Or
something.
a note, right? Here's a note.
Yeah. Here's a note.
Yeah.
Got in my pocket. So on May 25th, 2022, 61-year-old professional poker player Cory Zeidman of Boca Raton, Florida, was arrested on charges of fraud and money laundering related to a sports betting scheme that brought in more than $25 million from alleged victims. And Sal, this scheme has nothing to do with poker, which you may have expected it to have to do with poker.
It just brings to mind, how do you ask somebody, how do you get that much money from any one person? Let's say I want to ask you for $500,000. Like,
Okay.
how do I ask you for $500,000?
So you want some of my crypto?
Yeah. I want $500,000 in crypto.
Meanwhile, I have hardly any crypto.
Well, because when I first started working at the gym, I was actually in sales, and they taught us a lot of sales tactics and approaches, and we went to books and seminars, everything. And the ask, hand me $500,000, and people are like, okay, they trust you, they believe you. I got to hand it to this guy. Cory is a fantastic salesman.
Very true, Sal. But unlike a previous episode, the Hollywood actor runs a $650 million Ponzi scheme. In that instance, he is going out like, hey, Sal Rodriguez, I'm making this movie. Would you like to invest? Give me a big chunk of money. We're about to get into this. This is about smaller amounts of money, people paying for something that they don't get or they believe is real. It's a whole other thing. This is a different scheme entirely.
Yeah, this is not referred to as a Ponzi scheme.
This is not.
Yeah.
This is like, hey, I have some information you might want to help you in your betting needs. And you buy this information and it's bogus.
Wow.
So I don't know. What we don't know is the denominations that people are paying.
Yeah.
But I do know something about this, and we're about to get into that part of the crime.
Yeah.
And I've had some experience of hearing this type of thing, but I didn't partake in it. And we'll go down that rabbit hole in just a second. But before getting into that, here's more about Zeidman, because we need to qualify this guy. He is a World Series of Poker winner, quote unquote. So in 2012, he won a bracelet. That's what they call it, Sal, at the World Series of Poker. Now, that doesn't mean he won the main event. He wasn't a big champ like the two guys I mentioned earlier, Chris Moneymaker or Charlie or Johnny Chan. He won a tournament. And in that year, in that calendar year of 2012, there were actually 61 bracelet events. So it's kind of like, I was trying to think, we were talking before we recorded, like golf tournaments. There's four major, well, golf's probably a bad example, but there's four majors in golf, but there's tournaments every weekend. And you could go win a tournament and be a tournament winner, right? PGA qualifier, you're doing great, but you may not win the Masters, right? So this guy Zeidman won one of the 61 events in 2012, and he earned $2,001 and $201,000, 559. Say that again. He won just over $200,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a bunch of numbers there, but he won that, a sizable amount. They were playing $1,500 7-card stud, high, low, 8 or better. So you start getting in the weeds there on the particulars, but it is Texas Hold'em. And there was 622 entries. So, hey, he had a good run. That was a great tournament. Probably took.
Wait, hang on. 622 people.
Yeah,
contestants
in that tournament.
Oh, that's a lot.
He won. So he comes out a big winner, wins a bracelet, gets some prestige, probably helps him at the next event, or at least.
Wait, hang on. He beat 621 other people.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
That's the data points that I saw.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty impressive.
I didn't mean to mess up his winning, Sal. Do you want to take a crack at it? I broke it down wrong.
No, the $201,559.
Yeah, I was saying it like, wait a second, I got some change. Like it's 500, like it's $5.59, but a lot of money, over 200 grand. Amazing.
Sure.
And you take that prestige to the next tournament. And what I don't know is the particulars, like, hey, now you can get in this tournament for free. I don't know.
Yeah.
He won a bracelet. And so he's kind of on the map, and he's got some cash in his pocket, right?
Sure. Photo op. It's probably some interviews.
Yeah. And maybe he was a favorite or one of the better odds to win the main event that year. We don't even know if he competed. This is the data points that I have.
Yeah.
So as for the scheme, Zeidman and his co-conspirators placed misleading radio ads in various U.S. markets, claiming to have insider information that made betting on sporting events a no-risk proposition. So when listeners contacted the service, which used names like Gordon Howard Global and Ray Palmer Group, they were told the privileged information about fixed games came from physicians at colleges and TV executives. So Sal, before we go further, to break that down, you're driving down the street, you got XM radio on or local radio, and you've probably heard this before, skipping channels, I don't know, but you'll hear two guys talking about maybe football. They have insider information and, they can help you out. Their record in the past is blah, blah, blah. Like we won 5 out of 6 games last week. And if you want that intel, you just call our number. And these are those types of ads.
Well, you got to rely as a bettor, as a victim, as they're called here.
Yeah.
You have to rely on the knowledge or the belief that a lot of the sports events are indeed fixed.
You have to believe that. Right.
Wow.
But bettors, and if you know anything about gambling, especially sports gambling, it's wide open. You could bet football this day and be down, and you're looking to offset your losses, and all of a sudden you quit trusting anything, and you're looking for anything that sounds like a winner. Right. Yep. And here are these guys, and they're good at it, Sal. A lot of times they have a thick Brooklyn or New York or some sort of accent for some reason. I've heard that more often than not, just, really thick. And they're like, hey, Sal, we went 5-0 last week, and you want to win. And they're great at selling.
Yeah,
and
they got a pencil behind their ear. Right?
Well, you don't even see them. I mean, this is the radio, right? But they probably do, right? You can hear the pencil.
Yeah.
And they're selling you on it. And I tell you what, if you're vulnerable and down, you may call that number. You may call Gordon Howard Global or Ray Palmer Group and just be like, how much for, Notre Dame's playing Illinois, the spread's 5. So you might ask, pay for the spread. You might pay what the over under, and then you might parlay the two. They don't do the bet for you. They're just selling you their information, and their information could be great intel. Most likely it's them just giving their opinion.
Well, also, I think it doesn't. It's not good for these radio stations who are just running unvetted advertising. They don't know who the hell's buying these ads. They don't know if they're legit or not. Obviously they weren't in this instance, and they just run the commercials, take the check, run the commercial, not even concerning themselves with whether or not it's legitimate.
Yeah. Well, it's true. Now, I'm not saying that all handicappers, that's what you would call someone who really knows how to do this and can handicap a game and give their educated guess, right? And go off some data points. But
Sure.
at the end of the day, it's still, you don't know. It is amazing if you watch the lines at all. I'm not a bettor, but I do study NFL in particular, and I do keep an eye on spreads, but I'm just more as a thing to gauge, but I'm a lot more into just who won the game and lost the game and whatever. But
so you don't try to forecast much?
Well, I try to forecast who's going to win, but I'm not too caught up on the spread. I more care about the actual winner. But they give you an idea, a barometer, just another thing to say, oh yeah, well, okay, Cincinnati is favored by 3. There's got to be good reason, because the handicappers in Vegas make the line. They are educated, and it's crazy how close they are most of the time.
Oh, that's what they call the over under.
Yeah, well, over under, who's gonna win or who's favored, or over unders like whatever, like 46. If you go over 46, you're a winner. Under 46, you're a loser or winner, depending on which way you bet.
Yeah.
So they'll say we have this team favored by this much, and we think the over under is this. But they'll set those numbers, and it's crazy how good they are. But they're not selling their information; they're setting the market. The line.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So you're a bettor, and you're just like, oh my God, do I like Cincinnati? Do I like, the Colts? Who do I like here? And then here comes this radio ad. Right. And I'm not saying they're bad. These guys could be really good at what they do, but some people could just be whatever, by the data. In fact, this reminds me of another movie with Matthew McConaughey and Al Pacino, Two for the Money. And they were doing this. I should have said this earlier. They were doing exactly this. By our intel, we know exactly who's going to win. And you can go on a hot streak, and maybe your customers love you and they're loyal, but then you could just go cold and dark and everyone loses money. But we don't get into that here, but this is the type of stuff they created. Now, what we don't know is if they had any, real passion for it, any real skill for it. We don't know. But as we unfold more, it sounds like they were just giving away whatever information and just selling the goods. So, and, making lots of money, and people were getting broke buying their information, their privileged information.
Well, if the whole thing was fake, right there, it wasn't just like these guys, like you said, they think these will be the winners, and they're selling you who they think will be the winners, right?
Yeah.
These guys are going into some games are fixed, and we talk to physicians and we have inside scoop, we have inside information. That's a whole different thing. Then it becomes a whole nother thing once you start invoking those sort of things, right? Otherwise, like you said, two people can just go, hey, here's who we think will win, by our advice, essentially.
Yeah. So I'm getting some scratchiness there. I heard a little bit. So
is it this?
Something was touching the mic, but
that's this.
Okay. I just heard something. Yeah, true. And these guys lasted long enough that maybe they tried, but at the same time, too many people coming forward saying, hey, what is this? Now, buyer beware, right? I'm not saying that, hey, no one made you go buy Sal's information or these guys' information, but obviously they were arrested. They're being investigated because it doesn't sound like they were very diligent about gathering information, or maybe they had no handicappers on their team. They're selling something that they have no maybe skill set in. That there's more to come out of this. But it's I've heard these ads forever, Sal. Like before the games, early in the morning. So say it's football Sunday and you're going somewhere at 6 a.m, way before they're talking about the coverage of the games, you'll hear these types of shows popping on. Yeah. And people are probably like, oh yeah, okay. They want to hear it. They want to be pushed one way or the other. I mean, I'm talking about like hardcore gamblers, right? And they could just sit there. They could flip a coin all day. Who's going to win? Let me flip this coin. Okay. I'll go with it. I mean, that's how fragile those types of people can be.
Well, I'm reminded
desperate might be a better word.
Do you remember the 1-900 scandal with Miss Cleo? And then I think they also
Oh,
had a scandal with
yeah.
Dionne Warwick and Dionne Warwick and Friends, Psychic Friends Network, right?
Exactly.
So in other
Very
words,
similar.
you call up and you think you're talking to a legitimate psychic. Now, the phrase legitimate psychic, you
Well,
can
that's
argue
a
that,
whole
but
other, yeah.
okay, look, just to be a little more transparent here. About 25 years ago, I was studying tarot cards and I was practicing. I was getting okay, and I took it seriously. So I went to go apply for the, I forgot if it was Psychic Friends or the Miss Cleo line.
Yeah.
I was hired. They sat me down in a little cubicle.
Wait a second. Really?
And I was going to start taking calls as a tarot card reader for one of these psychic lines. And by the way, I want to be clear. I took it seriously, and this is legit in my head.
Well,
anyway.
you
This is
would
legit,
take it
right?
serious. Yeah.
Well, people call and I'm gonna do my thing. I look around, I start to listen, I start to look, and I realize this whole thing's fake. Nobody here takes it seriously. None of these people are
Just you.
even practicing psychics.
Yeah.
You're just talking to some guy who's, oh, Jason, no, you know what, Jason, you're gonna get that dream job. You're gonna get it. I see it. It. You got all these fakers, is what you got. Anyway, I quit that very day. I said, I'm out of here. This is terrible, this place. I said to the manager, you shouldn't even work here, and I left. So this just reminds me of that. It's just all bullshit is what it is.
And that's what this is kind of sounding to be, right? I don't remember this particular ad. It might be a different network and I never heard it, but I've heard similar. And even the guys I'm hearing, all I ever say out of myself is, if your information's so good and you're 5 or 6-0, just bet yourself. Take the common man out of it. Just keep going on yourself, right?
Yeah. The fact that you're trying to get me involved in your thing is suspect right away.
You're doing that good. I just kind of mums the word.
Yeah.
Right. There was a guy when I was a kid watching NFL when I was just getting into it. I was like 10, 11 years old. His name was Jimmy the Greek Snyder.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy the Greek. He was under scrutiny. There was a scandal.
Oh, yeah. He was drunk one time and crossed all sorts of lines.
Yeah.
Got in some racial discussions.
Yes,
and he got fired the next day. But in his heyday, he was the guy. He brought the Vegas to, the main stage, and they'd say, Jimmy, what do you got on this game? He's like, well, I think the Cowboys are going to win by 5 and cover the spread. So he really made his bones back in the day by picking a bunch of winners. So he was just a really good handicapper, right?
Yeah.
And then he became a celebrity, and then he had a fall from grace. Yeah, but doesn't sound like they have that guy on this team. This sounds like, it appears that our guy Zeidman got with some people. Maybe he brought some of his street cred, World Series poker winner, got some street cred, got some cash or people to build up the team, and then just started running ads. It's not easy or cheap. Not easy shouldn't be the word. Cheap to run ads on national radio and have guys doing spots, and then build out this empire, and then money was coming in. So to be clear, they're asking callers. They wouldn't say how much on the air. They just say, hey, call us. You want to know the game? You want to get the parlay? You want this? You want that? Call us. So when you call them, it's like a sales job. Hey, I got you, Sal. So what am I doing here? Hey, okay, maybe they win you over, right? And they kind of feel you out. Maybe it's a sliding scale. Yeah. Hey, this guy will probably pay us, $1K for this parlay bet or these two pick'ems. Or
sure.
So you don't know. We don't know what they were taking from these guys, but they're asking to pay. And I'm assuming now it's probably easier, but back in the day, it was probably like Western Union. Hell, it could still be Western Union or ACH or something. You're getting cash, boom, out to these guys. And that's what's happening with these callers. But wait till you hear how long it went on. I mean, 25 million takes a while to accumulate.
Sure.
So according to a two-count indictment from the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York, Zeidman faces federal charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and mail fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering as part of the scheme that spanned from 2004 to 2020. 16 years, Sal. That is hard to believe.
That's the longest ongoing crime that we've ever covered, I think.
Absolutely.
16 years. He practically can take a pension from his own scheme.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, the Hollywood actor Ponzi scheme, it took a few years, but maybe a few. 16.
Wow.
So then it begs the question, was he ever getting winners? Were any customers winning just enough, like once every so often, and they were repeat customers? Or were they just constantly replenishing the customer pipeline with these ads? Or there's so much I have questions about. Were they targeting certain areas, mop up? I mean, some people, when they get knocked out, Sal, they're done. They can't bet anymore. They are out, and then he moves on to the next ones. But yeah, I want to hear, I really want to hear some of the ads, and I want to know some more of the data, but
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And like you always said, in previous episodes, greed takes over. It seems like you had a good run at 5 years, maybe get the heck out of there.
Once you hit the 10-year mark, you're like, well, it's been 10 years. We've had a good run. This can't possibly go on forever.
Right. And
but
here's
no, let's do 6 more years, guys.
6 more years. Let's go. Zeidman has won $200,000 in one event, but now he's making, lots of millions, tens of millions. So why is he going to go back to that? I mean, I don't even know. Maybe he kept competing as well to keep his celebrity status alive. I don't know. But this guy got wrapped up in this. And, we don't have anything from Zeidman. He was arrested recently, but we do have some quotes from some prominent people, actually. And we're going to give those quotes out because they said it best, I would say. Their quotes are phenomenal and hard hitting, and they shed a light on just the damage that was done to the victims, really. Because some people might not feel sorry for the victims, and others, as I've tried to paint, these are like really people on the fringe. They're in a bad place. A lot of times when you're desperate, you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole. It's like a Hail Mary. You're not trying to get information when life's good and you're picking all the winners yourself. These are desperate people and desperate measures, and it can ruin families.
Jason, the first time I went to Vegas, the first time I ever went, I guess I was in my early 20s, only had heard Vegas, seen, Viva Las Vegas, Sinatra movies. And I go to Vegas and I was in, 7th, 8th floor of my hotel. I look down at the strip. I see everybody. I see all the cars, and I'm thinking, all these people shouldn't be here. All these people should be home. Look at these people. Look at this family. They should be at home saving their money. Yeah. Why are they here in Las Vegas? And yeah, so I think when people think of the Las Vegas gambler, there may be some image of some hot shot, right? But
no,
regular folk, absolutely regular folks spending their paychecks is what it is.
After I finished my first documentary, I really wanted to make, I didn't know what I was going to work on next, but one of the projects I kind of was developing was called Rush. Now it's the name of a group, of course, but it was like Rush. It was just going to be a documentary focused on like a gambler's gambler. Like, yes, like you said, yeah, gambling's great. It's sensationalized and we're all winning money, but I really wanted to follow different people from different stages of gambling, from a sports gambler to someone who's always playing the tables, because it's not that glamorous. It's probably pretty seedy. And I met some of these people and I really wanted to tell that story. And just, it's almost that rush. It was kind of, I forget the tagline I had, but it was going to be called Rush. And it was about, just chasing that, because I've even read that when people win at slot machines, sometimes they're annoyed by winning because they just get caught up in the noises in the field and they want to dump in money. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I won a little bit, but it wasn't enough. And I just want to keep going. And they just get dialed into something else. Now that's just slots, but I mean, in anything, I know how the sports gambler mindset works just by observing it from friends and over the years and just studying it. But it's fascinating to me. It would have been a very dark documentary, mind you. Not a lot of upside, not a lot of great stories come from a lifelong gambler. Not everyone can be disciplined.
No, I know. I can recall 3-4 people I personally have met whose lives were severely impacted by,
totally.
I don't use the word addiction too often, but their interest in gambling had a negative impact in their overall life, including their marriage. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. I'll take one, you take one, and we'll have some closing thoughts. But United States Attorney Breon Peace said in the statement that Zeidman defrauded his victims and persuaded them to drain their retirement accounts to invest in his bogus sports betting group. Also, he could spend it on international vacations, a multi-million-dollar residence, and poker tournaments. So I guess he did continue to play, but that's pretty cutting. That they have enough people, Sal, to see the damage that was done. People losing retirement accounts, investing in this bogus sports betting group. So there you go. They've investigated this enough so far to know that they weren't even probably doing the work, putting in the work. Oh, take the next one.
As alleged, Zeidman preyed on individuals who were led to believe he had inside information that would lead them to make easy money. In reality, he was selling nothing but lies and misinformation, bilking millions from victims along the way, leaving their lives in financial ruin and their bank accounts empty, said Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, New York acting special agent in charge, Ricky J. Patel. And he continues, HSI will continue to work together with our partners to follow the money and tackle complex financial investigations to bring to justice fraudsters like Zeidman, who finance their lavish lifestyles by concocting ways to bamboozle the innocent when their only real goal is lining their pockets with ill-gotten cash. Great quote.
Great quote.
Very, very, I mean, geez, I want to know some of these people. Who is this New York Special Agent in Charge? That's a long title. Homeland Security Investigations, New York Acting Special Agent in Charge. Wow.
Thank goodness they're on the case, though, too. And I really was just, I mean, this thing popped off because I saw World Series of Poker winner. And then you realize him or anybody could be doing schemes like this. But thank goodness we have these types of U.S. attorney and HSI representative, out finding these people and bringing them to justice. Because, yes, how many people were impacted? What's it take to get to 25 million? I mean, they weren't taking 500,000 from people. So they're probably taking thousands here, or some bettors are in deep and it's like, I can get you out of this. Give me 10 grand. Well, a lot of these people don't have thousands laying around. They're probably taking it from something like retirement, putting another mortgage on the home, secretive from the spouse, got to get myself out of trouble. I mean, there's probably so many terrible tales just from this alone. That would be, devastating to read. I mean, I can't believe it. And I'm anxious to see when he is sentenced, if he's found guilty, I should say. I got to slow my roll there. But if he's found guilty, what kind of sentencing we're looking at for something like this?
Well, also, he's the only one named, right? No other.
Yeah, just it said co-conspirators. It did say his name, Cory Zeidman, Cory Zeidman, and all these aliases. So he's used other names along the way, not just his celebrity status, but I didn't mention any of the co-conspirators at this time.
Anyway. You know what? Now that I think about it, we never hear about the co-conspirators. I think when it comes to, like, for example, the most notorious one in recent history, the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme.
Right.
We only hear the Madoff name. We don't. Surely, if you have this scam empire, there's gonna be other people involved who know. You know what all those people did? All those people just turned, right? What is it called? Where you point the finger at Madoff or whoever your boss is. You point the finger at them. You get a reduced sentence. Oh yeah. They take all the punishment.
Turn state's evidence. You flip on them, or what's the terminology you're looking for?
Yeah, well, you're like, I'm going to blame you. Even though I'm at fault too, but I'm gonna blame it all, put it all on you, so I get a lesser sentence. Like they do it in murder trials all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's him. Oh, by the way, I happened to find this because I was anxious to see it, and I will share this with you at some point in time, Sal, probably off the air. But this was my proposal. It was called Rush. The logo is pretty good. It's Every Gambler's Handicap, a feature-length documentary. So
very nice.
Yeah, I was all about it, man. But you don't know what your next project's going to be. You're always thinking, and it would have been interesting had I made that, but it's still an interesting topic.
But wait a second, hang on. Where did that fit into the Holy Rollers, the documentary about the card counting Christians?
This was more like 07, 08. I was thinking, what's going to be next? It's going to be a fiction film, a documentary. Holy Rollers didn't even come out for a few more years after that. Like that's not true. We were editing Strictly Background, and Holy Rollers, the team was created and moving forward. We found out about the team, and my DP and co-editor joined the team, and we were just talking like, hey, wouldn't it be great if we followed the team? But that's not going to happen. And then a few years down the road, then we got on board, started filming. So it was kind of like there, but we didn't think we could even film them. So I was like, well, what's going to be next? So that's kind of what happened. So it was this coincidence that it kind of dealt with gambling.
But I mean, you've had,
Yeah, I touched things.
inside
Yeah.
that world,
I have interest, but this was not about Christians or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just following just different characters. The team, that was a whole other story. You're following this team around.
Yeah.
Yes, I could have picked anybody,
And card counting is for blackjack?
Correct.
Can you card count in Texas Hold'em or any other form of poker? Or is that just a different thing?
Different thing. Totally different thing. Yeah. You have to be a really good poker player. Read people, bluff properly. That's a good thing. I get to be hard. You could cheat, but you can't cheat in these tournaments. You can't pull a card out of this isn't like saloon. Your buddy's dealing off the bottom, which happens in rounders. No, this is like next level. You've got to be a good poker player. But I also want to include this because I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Because it was a tag that I read on a couple of the articles. But anyone who believes they were defrauded by Zeidman is encouraged to call HSI, which means
that is Homeland Security Investigations.
Right. And you can call them at 1-866-347-2423. If you believe you're a victim in this crime, which could happen. If you ever bought this information, call the number.
You know what, Jason? I did.
You were I thought so.
I invested. It wasn't much as 150,000.
Yeah.
But you know what? I need it back. No, because I'm just reminded of. This just reminds me of. I heard about a robbery. It was some sort of local robbery of some store, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But they're like, the computer was stolen, and personal effects were stolen, and we had $50,000 in cash. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? You had 50,000 in cash that got stolen that night?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep,
I'm all skeptical.
75.
Yeah. Actually, 80.
Yeah. Well, people, hey, you open Pandora's box. So, that really does cover it. The World Series of Poker winner steals $25 million in sports gambling scheme in 2022. I thought it was interesting. Yes, it's about one thing and then it pivots. It's about this other big, sports gambling scheme that's no relation to World Series of Poker, but it caught my eye and I thought it was fascinating. And now you kind of know why. This whole world I find fascinating.
No. I'm glad you said that though. Just to be absolutely clear, the World Series of Poker had nothing to do with this crime.
No, it's just the the person, the perpetrator, the person that committed all this, he happens to have some sort of a name. And yeah, he's a gambler, right? He's a bit of a gambler and he put himself in something. And Sal, and not to feel bad for them, no way, no how, but they went 16 years strong on it. Had he got in there for a year and was like, and got some money and got out and then got caught, they'd probably slap his wrist. This is not good for him. $25 million is someone's going down and it looks like one Cory Zeidman.
This was probably going to have a follow-up. I'm sure we're going to hear a sentencing at some point.
That will be good to get a follow-up and see what kind of sentencing happens. I can't even say that word all of a sudden. Sentencing. But I also want to see if there's any victims that come out and say, if anybody says anything, sometimes they have them come to the trial. I want to see if there's anything that pops up at some point in time that we could potentially have an update.
I'll be ready and I'll be waiting. And you know what? I bet it'll be soon.
Well, there you have it. So unlike your confidence, and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
And get 20% off and free shipping with the code thatsacrime at manscapes.com.
So thank you so much for listening. And please be sure to subscribe to the That's a Crime podcast, as well as the That's a Crime YouTube live channel. You can also really help us by giving the show, I'm tired. You can also really help us by giving the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast.
And for all you listeners that enjoy sharing your thoughts, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, send us a direct message, or post a comment on any That's a Crime social media platform.
We also highly recommend checking out our other podcast and visiting justcuriousmedia.com.